Good morning. Today is Friday, October the 11th, 2019, and we're here today. We've just finished up one of the best camps that we've had, celebrating our 30th anniversary. We thought it would be an appropriate time for Buddy Wilder and myself just to open a little dialogue about Camp Bluebird, how it started, a few things that many of you have always asked but didn't know. Today is your day. So this is Buddy Wilder. He's a telephone pioneer. Telephone pioneers are one of the founders of Camp Bluebird. Buddy will tell us about that in a minute. And over the years, we've had different sponsors to endorse things that we do, fundraisers and this kind of stuff. So we'll start off, Buddy, by just answering a couple of questions here about who started Camp Bluebird. Somebody must have had a great idea.
The first information we got was that it was started in Kentucky. I think it was Frankfort, Kentucky. And it was not the pioneers directly involved, but as soon as they saw what Camp Bluebird was, they just fell in love with it, and they invited the rest of us to take a look at it. I was president of the Pioneers in 1989, and my community service chairperson was Mary Lynn Williams. Most of you, well, not most of you, but a lot of you know Mary Lynn. And so she said, I think this is a good idea, and you're going to go with me to see it. And we did. We just loved it. And she had already picked out the place it was going to be. I didn't get a vote. It was Camp Beckwith on Weeks Bay. And it's a beautiful place. They treated us like royalty over there. And Camp Bluebird came to Mobile, and it was, everybody loved the first camp, and we had repeats immediately. I think some of the campers probably have been at least to 10 or 12 camps. How many? 9. Anyway, we moved out to Camp Grace, and the pilots were generous enough to let us use this facility, and it's beautiful. So we've survived 30 years, and had a lot of counselors, a lot of volunteers come and go. A lot of them come and stay. So I hope that answers your question.
That was very well. I think you told me sometime in the past that some of the folks in Birmingham actually started the Camp Bluebird up there.
Yes.
Is that right? What was that about?
That was a Cahaba Council, and we went to visit them, see what their operation was, and we decided we liked ours a lot better. And some of the councils have cut down to one, or I should say cities have cut down to one camp a year. But I think most of you would agree we would like to stay at 2 a year. And we have a beautiful location here. We usually pick out the best part of the year to have it. Like yesterday was a mild 95 degrees in October.
I'm surprised, talking about the weather, how many times, I think we were the second week of April, second week of October, and how many times that the weather just cooperated beautifully. I can only remember one time that we had a really big rain, and it didn't last seemingly very long. We can always get together and play some games during that time. I remember one guy who came to camp, and he was blind, and so everybody would kind of help him out. And we were over at Camp Beckwith, and a lightning storm came through, and the power went out. So people said, oh, quick, let's run over and get him. So they go over there, and knock on his door. He's in the shower, and they said, we need to come get you. The power's gone out. And he says, honey, my lights went out about 15 years ago. So that was just one of those, you'd have been there. A real funny time. So we do it twice a year, and how is camp funded? That's always an interesting question. Where does the money come from? Because as you can well see, there's a lot of groceries that have to be taken care of, and all the housing and those kind of things. What are some of the single biggest things?
Well, originally, when we had the idea, we approached one of the hospitals in Mobile, and they just didn't have the funds for it. So we wound up with going to partner with Providence, and the Pioneers and Providence shared the expenses equally. Well, it wasn't too long, so the Pioneer group ran out of money. So we heard Joe had deep pockets, and so Providence has been generous enough to fund the camp at least for the last 10 years. And that's twice a year. And as Joe said, we eat a lot of groceries while we're over here, so take some money.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we don't have to pay for our location. That's a huge savings.
Is there an annual golf tournament? I seem like I've heard you go out and cook some pretty good sausage, I think, at a golf tournament. Tell us about that.
Providence started the Pioneer, I'm sorry, not the Pioneer, Camp Bluebird Golf Tournament about 14, 15 years ago. And the funds go into the foundation, but it's earmarked for Camp Bluebird. And I was invited to come over there about 14 or 15 years ago and cook Conecuh sausage, which I dearly love, out on the golf course. And I've just been doing that ever since. Unfortunately, it occurred Tuesday this year, and then camp started Wednesday. And one of the ladies sitting in the back always invites me to come out Tuesday and do all the dirty work. But I had another appointment that day.
Weren't you glad?
I was.
Well, I know that a lot of the doctors and salesmen and different people in the community who play in our golf tournament, they'll come out and usually you're interested on what hole you're going to start on the golf course, but their main question is, what hole is Buddy Wilder going to be on with the Conecuh County sausage? So, I can't wait to get there.
A lot of those guys lie to you and tell you that's the only reason they play in that tournament is to eat Conecuh sausage. So I tell them it's cholesterol free.
Good. Well, I know that a lot of volunteers that work at camp, where do those volunteers come from? I mean, several sources I've heard you speak of.
Well, the Telephone Pioneers,
Yes.
naturally. Providence Hospital. We get a few from like USA and a few from Mobile Infirmary and Southern Cancer Center. They are huge supporters of ours.
Yeah.
And different people from the community. Sometimes somebody will have a family member, and family member's one of our campers, and one of the family members will say, hey, can I come out there and help you? And we're always glad to have them.
For sure. And so, if I wanted to come to camp as a patient, have I got to have, it's like strictly cancer patients, or?
Either currently diagnosed or in remission are welcome.
So if I've had cancer like 5 years ago, that'd be okay?
Yes,
What if I just found out 2 weeks ago?
you're more than welcome.
All right, yeah. You know, I love to sit down with the new campers and hear their story. We often hear people have a story in life. And some of you have such beautiful stories that I can't help but share those with friends when I get back home. My wife says every time I come home from camp, I'm a different person. So that'd be about, I think about 58 or 9 different personalities. That's all. But I think what I get out of camp myself is hearing the stories. And we've started a Facebook page a few years back when that became popular, and we asked folks to sign on to that. And we only stipulation to that, just be careful if you post any pictures that they're appropriate, because sometimes some people don't like their picture on there. I think I was sleeping out there in a chair one time, somebody took my picture. And I don't sleep around here. Yeah, I know who it was. Yeah. And I said, I don't like my picture sleeping like that. Yeah, that's what I saw. That's what you got.
Pictures don't lie.
Well, they didn't lie that down. Yeah. So, we'll open up the floor if any of you have any particular questions you'd like to ask Buddy, and He's just been a wealth of information over the years, and I don't know of anybody that's more of an icon. When I think of Camp Bluebird, I think Buddy Wilder first.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. And then Tara Carnahan, Diane Robeson over the years. I could just go on and on. I'm reluctant to name any more because somebody will say, you didn't name me. And so I'll name me.
I want to share a little story. We keep talking about what Camp Bluebird means to us and to you guys. And I have a niece, she's an RN, and after every camp, she comes to the house and she'll sit on the floor in front of my recliner and say, okay, Uncle Buddy, tell me about Camp Bluebird. She wants to know every detail, every camp. And I'll think about that often, you know, that means so much to her just to hear what happened here, let alone see it. Well, she was a juvenile diabetic, and she founded Camp Sugar Falls. And somehow I was invited to come out and view it, and of course be a worker from then on. But we've had influence on a lot of camps. They like the way, I guess, that we function.
So is there official committee that works on a lot of these activities? I mean,
I'm sure. I mean, Tara's in charge of all those, and she gets savage if you do something wrong.
I've seen that. So if there are community volunteers out there that would like to get involved with Camp Bluebird, we certainly welcome those.
Yes. Call the Cancer Center, volunteer.
And
The pay is not much, except for what Joe makes.
my time's rather valuable to me. It's been, we've celebrated birthdays. What's some of the themes, buddy? Let's see if we can name a few of the themes we've had over the years.
We were talking about some of them last night, and I think the 2 or 3 years we did the pirate theme, everybody got involved in it. We didn't have one person sitting off to the side just looking at the goofy people out there. And
You talking about the pirates there, the goofy people? Okay.
Yeah, the other pirates.
The other pirates.
We had the whole 3 days, somebody was running around hollering, "Arr!" from early in the morning till late at night, 3 days. And everybody got involved in it. And we did a country and western thing a couple of times, and they all got involved in that. I saw a lot of people getting kicked with those pointed toe boots.
Yes.
Let me think of another. Usually the animal things get pretty involved.
Yeah, let me comment on that pirate deal, if you would, just a moment. There's a local pirate group in Mobile, Alabama, and they really go to the limits. I mean, they dress up and so forth. And so that one camp, we had the buddies wrapped on the other side of the lake over there, and we're all dressed up and, you know, getting ready to start our party. And so, I don't know who gave them the signal, but here they come in, and these pirates invade Camp Bluebird. And it was like a scary kind of thing. It's like, who are these people? We didn't know them. Those days didn't know them. And that boy, they played the role, they played the part, they did some gypsy dances, all kind of stuff. I enjoyed that one a lot.
They were anxious to get ashore, and some of them leaped off the barge before we quite got tied up.
I mean, you know, we've done Christmas.
Yeah, that was really, everybody got involved with that. Santa Claus came to see us, and he really liked the women sitting on his lap. The one lady she had a special request for Santa. Do you remember that? No. Yeah, she wanted a husband for Christmas.
Guess what?
Guess what? It delivered.
Well, that looked like a pretty good gig to me. I remember it's just a small boy, and I know that's been a while ago that I was a small anything. But I got up in Santa's lap, sitting right there by him, and the first thing he did, Santa knows everything we do. First thing he did, looked at me and he says, "Joe, my boy, tell me now, are you still wet in the bed?" Boy, I wanted to crawl under that bench with Sam. I saw him by here. Sam was here last night.
Well, he told me that you were only in the 6th grade when he asked you that.
There you go. Let's see, we've had, seemed like we did a prom one time, like a high school prom, and everyone dressed up in their beautiful gowns, evening gowns, and they didn't realize that I would go around and when camp first started, I said, well, what high school did you go to, and what year did you graduate, and so forth, and they'd tell me, they didn't know what I was doing. So that night we had call-outs. So they were able to come up, parade their gown around, and I'd announce them to the daughter of Mr. and Miss so-and-so. So that meant a lot, because some of them, one lady said, I didn't get to go to my prom when I was in high school, so she kind of enjoyed that. We had some ballroom dancers come out with us that night and did a little ballroom dancing, top a few steps. And I think this line dancing thing has taken over. See, there's a couple of songs you play and it's like the floor fills up. People, it's like, I thought she was rather reserved till they started that.
We had a clown theme one year.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot more clowns out there than we realize.
My favorite clown will always be Ricky Rivers. You've got to see Ricky Rivers. He usually brings some pictures, but he's been like to professional clown schools. One time he brought his some kind of bubble blowing machine or something. Other bubbles would be, I don't know, that big around, just blow it across camp. I thought, oh man, he's something else. Real good guy.
The company that we worked for realized Ricky was a clown before we ever did. We went into a meeting one time and they said, get that clown out of here.
That was your first indication.
It was.
We got a real clown here. Yeah. That is not my phone.
Come in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I would like to know, how did y'all come up with the name of the camp?
We didn't actually come up with that name. The Telephone Pioneers in Kentucky came up with the Bluebird name.
Okay, so y'all didn't ask them?
No.
I believe you had to buy, didn't you have to buy a franchise early on? The Telephone Pioneers came across with money to buy the franchise to use. The Camp Bluebird as our logo. It's patterns. It's modified over the years a little bit, but it's still the basic.
It's a copyrighted name.
It started because many of these little bluebird story, and their bluebirds in the southeast were about to become extinct, and I think that means there's not many of them. Okay, yeah, not many of them. And so they adopted the bluebird theme and started building the birdhouses. And I just almost guarantee if you'll put one out in early April in Mobile, Alabama, and if it's out freestanding, away from, they don't like to be real crowded, you'll see some bluebirds. My father lived in Ellisville, Mississippi, and he had Guillain-Barré syndrome and was in a wheelchair. And one of the campers says, I go to Ellisville frequently. Where does your father live? I hadn't even thought to take him to a bluebird house. She goes up there, meets Mr. Thompson, puts a bluebird out there, and he said, sometimes he's sitting on his porch and it sounds like a little war out there. They're fighting over the nest and everything. And my father enjoyed watching the bluebirds from his front porch. So as a result of building the birdhouses, I don't know, buddy, let's see, probably about, how many houses you think?
I couldn't
Let's
even
see,
guess.
we could guess maybe 150, 200 houses maybe that we put out. But the bluebirds are coming back. They're great little birds. A lot of people get confused with bluebird and blue jay, two different birds. And one lady comes down, she's a school teacher in Citronelle. Her husband's name is Robert. And you'll get here. If you're not there yet, you'll get there. Where you can't remember those names. But she comes down and does the greatest talk about Camp Bluebirds, about bluebirds per se. And a couple of things she said that always means a lot to me, how she'll tell you how often they build nests, usually 3 times a year, and how that The father is so active, the male bluebird is so active in raising that family.